So I look pretty like this.
18th of January 2025 at 6:41 p.m. here on Harstine Island, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey. This is your Devon Design podcast with two blokes that act all silly, but really are here for the laughs and the love. I'm Jake. He's Trey. What were we talking about? Plastic surgery, Trey? Hello?
I was just saying I need just a little bit of a facelift, to just kind of
What
just
like can you show a little bit in your cheeks what you would want to do here? Let's actually get you
just like
let's
a
get you the
little bit
right
of
way
like
here.
yeah, just like that. So you can't really tell that I'm having an emotion at all.
I mean,
Hey everybody, this is great. Don't I look young?
we have a friend who plays this game
That
where you
hurts.
you put the mouth separator in and you try to say
That's
words
right.
and it makes him so giddy. It kind of looks like what Trey was doing there, actually. Um,
That game is actually legitimately fun.
that game is yeah, that game is truly fun. Today's episode is called Past Specs. It is episode 70. We should have a sticker, but I have not designed one. We'll do my check-in question. We'll talk a little bit about the mental model of astrology software and maybe just a little bit about like what we've been working on, which has been, for me, very painful because I've been kind of undoing 2,000 years of aspect orbs, honestly, and it's created quite the document spec. I'll probably show it here in a second. You
Okay.
wanted to say something there.
No, I was just going to say that you are quickly becoming an expert on reading ancient texts, which is a whole special thing. You have to like parse through all of the insanity to get to the like, what are you actually saying here?
What are you actually saying? Let's show you, if you don't mind. I'm going to take a quick tour down what I'm going to call the piece of metadata called aspect calculation method. Let's go there.
Wait, are we just skipping check-in entirely here?
No,
Is that what you're trying to do?
we're not skipping check-in. We're just going to go down this road for a second. So, aspect calculation method here. Don't just, I don't need this right now. So this is aspect calculation method, and you'll notice that it's just one piece of metadata, and you're like, oh, it's
Huh.
either by orb, by sign, by orb and sign, oh, by Al Baruni orb and sign, by Ibn Ezra Lily orb and sign, moiety sign, Huber orbs, and Huber, and you're just like, what does this mean? Oh my good God. I mean, that's not even the bad one. The bad one, oh, Mr. Ibn Ezra, Reverend Abraham Ibn Ezra, what in the world were you actually doing? Blah blah blah. We have this moment here, like giving lordship. Let's just read this for a second. Giving lordship is when one planet aspects another planet in an aspect of total love or of half love. I'm like, what does that mean? Aspects of total love, trines. Aspects of half love, sextiles. Could the guy say trine and sextile? No. Why would
No.
he? Why? Why would he?
I like
Terrible.
the idea that sextile is half love.
It's half love. And I believe that a
That's great.
square is half anger. What is it called again? It's called half antagonism. A square is half antagonism, and the
Well, then
full
what's full antagonism? Oh, opposition,
opposition is full antagonism.
of course.
Exactly.
We
So,
haven't even discussed the elephant in the room, which is that
oh, two
my
things.
face is very short.
And my hair is very tall.
I know it looks so good. I love your new haircut.
Thank
Do
you.
a side view. It's really cute.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a little. Trey decided to chop off his beard. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're feeling? We'll get to this in the. I mean, this is kind of your proto check-in here. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on with your mind and why your face had to suffer it?
Yeah, we were at a grocery store, and the lady at the checkout, the person who was checking us out, said, "Oh, it's so nice that your dad is here to buy groceries." To you,
No,
referring to me as being your dad,
no, she didn't say that. And it's the reason why she thought I was your
basically.
kid. It had nothing to do with your beard. It had to do with the fact that I was acting juvenile and terrible. I was trying to steal your pin.
I said, I was like, we're practically the same age, and she was like, "Oh,
No,
wow."
no, no, no. Time out. You're misremembering all of this. All of it. That is not how this went down. Now, I will say she did say, and I tried to deflect her from saying this, but she did say at one point that like son and dad. And then when we walked out of the store, I said, I'm sorry, honey. I know you're going to shave your beard. You're like, it's off. Consider it off. And I understand that.
And you know
Um,
what? Our neighbor, whose opinion I highly value, said I look younger. She was like, something changed. You look younger."
all right, that's fine. Let's go to the let's go to the check-in question before I
Also, my
say some
my other
say
my other joke lately is that I'm now sort of this I look like a professional astrologer now because I'm somewhere a slider between Chris Brennan and Austin Coppock. So
Hmm.
if you had like sort of a midpoint there, and maybe a little bit older.
Trey
Um,
said, like, what do I look like? Wear his glasses. I'm like, you look like an astrologer that wrote a book in 1974 that died in 1999 that we just keep publishing from Llewellyn.
pretty much.
Yeah, it's nice. Let's we treat each other nicely. Let's go to the check-in question, shall we? There's lots of apps that are on our phone. There's lots of things that we do on our phone, and I would like for you, Mr. Henry, to tell me the most surprising, delightful app that is on your phone.
Uh, I like that surprising angle. Actually, I think for me, I mean, this is probably not surprising to anybody else, but I think for me, I'm gonna say the Libby app,
Mm,
which is it's a library. For those who don't maybe know, it's an app that most of the libraries use so that you can like find books, check out books. Like basically, you put your library card in there, and then you can find like audiobooks, and you can like check things out and like read books online, and it's really cool. And even like the audio player and stuff in there is great, and there's like a little widget that tells you, like, you can put it on the like your home screen of your phone, and it'll tell you like what like how long you have to wait for a book that you want to check out and things like that.
yeah,
It's really well done. It's really nice. It's just really surprising for something that you would think. I don't know, like when I think about like library software, generally speaking, I kind of think like elementary school software. Like you're just going to assume that it's like kind of garbagey and written by consultants who don't care. And it's
exactly.
it's clearly not the case. Like Libby's great. Like it's a really great application. It's mostly like the user experience of it is actually pretty decent. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's delightful. I
I,
think it's great.
I love that. My answer is the OmniFocus app, which is a
Mm.
task management app. And I have used this app since it was in beta. I love it. I use it every single day. It runs my life and it gives me peace of mind because it puts me on a process that helps me to capture everything that is in my brain and put it into a trusted system. Good answers, everyone. If you start hearing things that sound like chewing or mawing the down, it's not me. I'm not grinding my teeth. My dog has a bone and he won't move away from me. I tried to move him away, but he won't move away. So
No, he wants to, especially if you're talking, he wants to sit like right underneath you.
yeah, he's a good boy. And um I don't know. He's always very he's he's having a lovely time. His favorite app is Bone, for sure.
The bone summoning app.
The Bone
Oh wait,
summoning app.
that's probably something else. Never
A
mind.
bone
Forget I
summoning
said that.
app? Yeah. Well, wait, don't Google that.
Don't go to bonesummoning.com.
Yeah, bonesummoning.cx is probably not great. Let's talk a little bit about other than like kind of talking about aspects and all of that. A lot of what this iteration, this cycle was all about was just really thinking about things. Do you want to
Yeah.
introduce this, or do you want me to introduce this?
You've been talking for a while. Why don't you give it a rest for a minute?
All right, go for it. Introduce us to the concept of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I actually think we've hinted at this a little bit in maybe in the last episode. I can't remember, but we've been talking to a lot of astrologers, and it's been fantastic. It's been really eye opening in a lot of different ways, and we talked to somebody earlier on who kind of hinted at this, and then we talked to somebody more recently who really kind of put a fine point on it, which is I'm going to generally classify it as an expectation that software feels like like a traditional sort of like what we consider like a traditional box app. So in a lot of people's minds, if you're not sort of like well versed in the cutting edge of like all the tech involved in all of this, like in a lot of people's minds, like web applications or websites are a particular kind of experience, and then like apps that you install are a different kind of experience. And actually that line is really really blurry now, and usually when people are saying things like, well, I just want an app that just like I can install and works, they're talking about several different things. They're talking, one, generally speaking, about a desire to pay for software once and then just own it. So this is kind of like pushing back on the idea of like everything having to be a subscription model now. Um, so that's part of it. There's kind of like this idea that like, oh, I buy it and then I install it and I'm done. There's an expectation that it works when you're not connected online. So for a lot of people, like being able to work, on planes and, at places where like there's no internet connection, things like that, or just a desire to work without an internet connection, for example. And then also just the experience of the application. When people think web apps, or when people think web pages, they think about like forms, and you click a button and you wait a minute and something happens, right? And so it's kind of like in people's minds that's a very like astro.com as an
Yeah,
astrological
before we go into
experience is.
specifics, just introduce it because we go to specifics here. Let's just go to specific. You're getting into specifics, so let's talk a little bit about. I mean, I said introduce the concept. You're going all the way. So imagine
Well, you know me,
imagine
I'm like,
yeah, imagine that we're going to talk about big screens versus small screens. Big screens
yeah,
being
yeah,
things that usually feel like desktops, small screens feeling like more like phones. And then we've got an app over there and a website over here. Now, Trey was talking a little bit about astrology software, but I want to start by talking about design software because it's where my
yeah,
my heart has been. In the past, when we have talked about design software, really there was an inflection point where there was two competing players here. I don't put Adobe in here because you can imagine that Adobe sits over on this left-hand side as well. So Adobe sits over here, but this is an app called Sketch, and it was something that you purchased, installed, put on your desktop. It was a piece of desktop software, and it saved files. You had to manage all of those files, and Adobe software, much like Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, they all did this as well. And then Figma came along, and then Figma's on the right hand side, and they said, we're going to put our design software inside of the web. So it's a website you go to with your big screen and do design. Now the thing is with this, and we can Trey and I can talk a little bit about this. It was innovative and interesting, but no one really trusted that Figma was real design software in that day because Figma ran in a web browser, and how could a web browser actually do real design? Like, how could it be like real design software? It has to be an app. It has to sit on your desktop, and that's it. Do you want to talk anything about like the olden days and kind of where we ended up with design software?
yeah. No, I think that sets the stage perfectly. I mean, it's, yeah, and just to add on top of that, like the idea of the revenue model, like that you pay for software, you install it, and you're done. And of course, many of the box software folks have now tried to do
Oh,
this kind of cynical cash grab of like you have to subscribe to it, like Adobe, for example,
well,
where instead of just being able to buy the software like you used to be able to do.
yes. Yeah, exactly right. So this piece of software on the left hand side, like you said, you paid for it once and then you had it. This on the right
Yeah,
was a monthly subscription. The funny thing is, this one on the left, even though it was a piece of it was a piece of app software that you installed and everything, changed its model to a subscription model, even though it provided really nothing more than what it already did. They had some like cloud features, like it could save your files to a cloud, but like, okay, is that worth it? So let's fast forward to like today. Then Figma understood that they had this kind of barrier to overcome, and they ended up creating, not only can you use Figma in the web, but also you can use it on the desktop as well. And even funnier than that, they created a app small screen version of it on your phone for very specialized types of tasks, writing comments, viewing prototypes, like a very narrow band of tasks you do. So you're not designing everything on your small screen app. You are doing things that make sense for being on the run and on the road, things like that. Like I said, commenting, viewing prototypes, that kind of thing. And so what ended up happening is that Figma started taking over all of these things. And they have a small screen website, but essentially it's this kind of the same as this, so I didn't put it in here. But like they've kind of filled all of this out. So we started at a place where we said professional software can only be apps. And then eventually everybody caught up and said, oh, actually, professional software can be in websites as well. And that's really why Trey and I made the decision that we did with Cosmic to put Cosmic in the web because we know that professional grade software can be on the web. But there's a drawback to that. Drawback number one, Trey had talked about earlier, is you can't use it offline.
I mean, that's not 100% like cut
Sorry,
and dry because we're in a
it's
weirder world now, but
it's a
it's
weirder world, but you don't immediately say I'm offline. I'm going to go to cosmic.plumbing and
right.
use this thing. It's weird
Exactly.
for people.
It's a weird mental model for people, and it's really hard to develop that well. People try to do it, but most times, like even with Figma, for example, it's like I've tried to do the whole thing of like launching Figma and then like load the file that I'm working on and then like work on it on the plane. And I've had
It
all
doesn't
kinds of
work.
problems with it.
It
It
doesn't work.
doesn't. It's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Figma understood that there was this break between like web and desktop, and so they put a lot of effort into their desktop app so that they could look and feel like professional grade design software, and then eventually moved back over. Like the web and the desktop are the same code base, but like most people use the desktop version because they think of it professional software like that. It's hard to explain, but like the idea here is that people people will always act kind of in a mental model of how they perceive the world working. And the way that people perceive the world working today is that professional software sits in apps, things that are good or prosumer sit in websites and things like that. And
Right.
that small screens are interesting, but for the most part, you can't do the work that is done with professional software is done on big screens. You don't necessarily use small screens to do that kind of professional work. Fair?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I mean, it's obviously it's more than just this because you know this idea has tendrils sort of like all over the place, and we're not yet in even though we've been kind of slowly heading in this direction over time, we're still not quite in this world where it doesn't matter. Even from the
Right.
developer's perspective, like it still matters. Like you still have to think about where where you're going to deploy your code, how you're going to deploy it, what the connections look like, does it need a network, does it not need a network, how does offline work, like all of this stuff is still you still have to think through all of it, and
Right.
there's been some really good work to try to sort of like bridge all of these models together, but it's still kind of a wild west in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah. If it's a Wild West for design software and it's a Wild West for other professional software, what is it like for astrology software? I'm glad you asked. So let's go to what the current state of the art of astrology software is right now. Yes, there is prosumer software like called Luna that could sit over here that's in the web, that's big screen. But for the most part, if people are going to the web and they're doing astrology, they're going to astro.com or the Astrodienst.
Yeah,
For
that
the
one's pretty
most
popular.
part, people are thinking when they think astrology, big screen website, they go to astro.com.
Astro.com, yeah,
If they go to big screen
big
and
player.
app, they go to mostly SolarFire 9. And then Astro or if they're on Mac, Astro Gold, but like Astro Gold also was like, oh, we can make an app version of it. And essentially what they did with their app version is take their desktop version and make it really unusable. It's- and they didn't think about the context of why you would be using this on the road and using your phone, and they just said like, oh, well, we've got this desktop view, we'll kind of smush it into this. And you could probably tell from my voice, I'm not pleased with this. And so to me, the whole point of this tale is that astrology has yet to go through what I think a lot of other industries have gone through, where its professional software is not purely big screen and app, and is not purely something that you pay once for and you own forever, but rather is a monthly payment. And I think Trey and I were interested in pushing that narrative pretty hard on the big screen. Wait, which way am I pointing? The big screen website side of it. I have to point in the wrong direction. That's why this happens.
Always.
That Trey and I were more interested in building something that felt like Figma, where it was a big screen and a website and it was a monthly charge. However, in 2025, astrology software has not gone there. So therefore, the mental models haven't caught up. And also, generally speaking, subscription models are looked at correctly very, very dimly. Because why are you charging me a monthly fee? I would rather pay you for something and just own it. That feels like Pluto in Aquarius, and the subscription model feels like Pluto in Capricorn.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think I was just thinking about the astrological symbolism there, but yeah, I totally uh, like that idea. I think we were just talking about this. That I think as we're moving sort of into this kind of like we're in a sort of weird middle ground on web delivered applications and kind of like where the web's going and like what's on the platform, like what's on your hardware, what's on other people's hardware. It's a very strange place that we're in. And I think coming out of this, like what we're hearing from a lot of people and experiencing ourselves, is a general sort of a very subtle but probably sea change kind of shift back away from these. It's gone too far. There's too much stuff that's like, oh, give us like pay us I can't speak anymore. Pay a subscription fee for software which is box software still. Maybe it has some cloud features or it has some,
Right.
AI features or whatever. But you also have to pay extra for these like AI credits, because of whatever, and
Yeah.
then you have to pay the subscription model, and you're not really getting anything else out of it. And what it's doing is it's making it easier for the company to figure out, like, it helps the company reduce risk. So
Yeah.
you're providing a lot of benefit to the company, and you're not getting a lot of benefit out of it as a user.
Yeah.
Um,
This model,
so
this model, even though that some companies are continuously delivering value and features and upgrades and things like that, this model has been abused by many companies, big and small, to now a point where it feels toxic. And for some people, a complete non-starter, I
yeah,
would say.
yeah, but then there's the flip side of this too, which is that there's also a strong expectation from users that like I should be able to go to a website and just like see your thing or poke at it or like use it, in
Yeah.
some way, without ever having to actually like install anything or like there is kind of like it's like the user expectation bar has just gone up and up and up and up as people, as companies and people who produce software have gotten better and better and better at delivering unified experiences and all this kind of stuff. And so there's still like it's not like you could just say like, oh, I want to ship a box software thing now. I mean, you can, but it's almost immediately going to be like, well, yeah, but like there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are like, well, I just want to link to this chart and put it into
Right.
Discord.
Right.
And
So you have
people
to
should
do
just be able to
both.
go and see the chart of the day and like, blah blah
Correct.
blah. So,
So unfortunately now people like me and Trey have to do both because that's the world that we live in. And we can either say, oh, woe is me. I wish that we can make things so simple, or we can say, the cheese has moved. We're going to go find the cheese. We're rats. We're looking for the cheese. Feel free to read the small book, Who Moved My Cheese, if you ever want a tale about three rats and change management. It's an exciting book. It's an easy read. Pick it up from your library. I can't I mean, I can't. The book you can throw away. I can't recommend enough the library. Mr. Henry, that was a lovely time talking about design software, where we think astrology software is going. What do you think on this late Saturday? So they're definitely watching this on Sunday, that the viewer should do on their Sunday.
Uh, we're in kind of the dead of winter, um, but you probably have tiny little things that are poking out of the yard. We saw a plant today and we were like, what is this weird plant? And it's actually the base of foxglove, which grows very prolifically in the Pacific Northwest. And it's like just the bottom part of the
Yeah, it looks like
foxglove.
cabbage.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like some kind of weird primordial cabbage. And it's maybe popping up a little bit early, but I bet you can find some interesting. We also heard some weird bird that we've never heard before. So,
Oh yeah,
anyways,
it sounded
go
like
out.
an alien.
Yeah, like
Crazy.
try. There's probably some weird stuff happening in nature right now in
Yeah,
this transitory period
I
before we
love
get
it.
into the
Go
actual
find
spring.
Go find your weird stuff, the thing right before actual spring, and be well and take care. And we hope that you have a beautiful Sunday or whatever day you watch this video. We love you very much. We look forward to talking to you every week. We hope that you enjoy what we put out there. Be well, take care, and goodbye.
Bye.